and I strafe out. Now, to fix this, you need to understand for yourself, why did this happen? Like, I for sure know the concept of cover. Like, I know why I need to take cover, right? So why am I here furthest away from any cover? I just said this is stupid, and now I'm doing it myself. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to today's video. Yasha here. Hope you're having a great day. So today I want to review a game, and we want to talk also a little bit shortly about cover and why obsessing over cover does not win you games, and why not taking cover is losing your games. Weird sentence, I know, but we will see in this round what cover is. Now, let's start with the concept of cover. Okay, so basically, cover, there are two types of positioning. There is I would say the macro positioning, like at which position of the map you're fighting over, like the objective, a choke point. And this is mostly, for most characters, covered by a simple technique called anchoring with your tank. So basically, you just have a tank that's positioned somewhere on the map, and you are positioned relative to that tank. So whatever choke point that your tank decides to defend, that choke point is where you fight. So if you see this, we did not really anchor around the tank, we just played the default one, which is honestly a little bit wrong. But basically, what we have here is we have an open space right after this choke, right here. Right, enemies need to come through here. And the important thing is now that we stand around this choke. So as soon as enemies go into this choke, I explained the concept of concaves earlier, and we use concaves to shoot into this choke point from all directions we can find, also from high ground, of course. Drawing straight lines. There's also high ground back there for windows and stuff. So from this car. So from all around, we build this big concave, and we stay outside of this concave and shoot inside of this. This is basically our macro position, so just the team positions, how they are decided. So we do not want to be in the blue area, because then the enemies have a concave on us, or easy focus fire in this case, but we want the enemies to be in the choke, and not we are in the choke, okay? Most important thing, not really cover related, but as we know. So as cover, what I define now as cover is really using hard cover in front of you. So for example, we want to be this green arrow, so we use this thingy here as cover. We use this here as cover. We use maybe this walls as cover, depending on where you're standing. Of course, from inside hotels, there is this doorway we can use as cover. We can use this pillar as cover. We can use this thing as cover from the other side. We can use the floor as cover. If you are on high ground, you can look down. You can use the edge as cover, and of course this wall as well. So basically, every hard wall is cover, right? So with that being said, oh, wrong camera, sorry. So if you now just fly to each position, it's basically quite simple. So one cover would be here, but this is of course too far forward. So we go further back, because we want to have a sight line on this. And now you can use something like this, and here you have a shooting lane. So you have a cover from the left, with this one, a cover from the right, and you have only one narrow hallway to look through this area. And so if an enemy goes into this area, they kinda have to line up in a line to shoot you, so you most likely will see only one enemy. And this is typical cover usage, right? Just the basic cover usage. Same goes up here. If you shoot from down here, here of course you do not create a shooting lane. You only have to use this ledge as cover, so you go so far back that this ledge is higher up. So here I'm positioned wrong. I should go further back. For example, like here, but then I lose left cover and pick high ground, so I kind of cannot really use this ledgeless cover, okay? Bad example, sorry, but that's how something is. So then we use this thing as cover. This thing is cover, of course, to deny the high ground sightlines. Be aware of the high ground sightlines. So it's a little bit iffy position, because you have to consider this port, and this port at the same time. And if you look at the three spots at the same time, it's kind of bad. But if you know where the enemies are, it can work. But it's just typical cover usage, right? So with that being said, we start the round, we zip in a random position. I have no idea why I'm playing Edge, by the way. That's fine. It's the same concept, like which hit scan you place doesn't really matter. So here we see we have this shooting lane, and because there is no enemy on the right side, we zoom out on the soldier, and we also have Halos behind us and tank in front of us, so we don't take too much damage. And here we have closed the angle on the other right side. And as you have seen in the small peak here, Some backwards or forward, I don't know. Yeah. So, and as you can see here, we closed the angle. Closing angle means you need to take more cover. Opening angles would mean you go out of cover. But again, we create a shooting lane here and here. And the important thing is, if the soldier hits us, we can go right side, but she cannot strafe further left to counter mirror strafe us and keep a sight on us, because there is also cover, and that's here we have the shooting lane again. So this is typical cover usage, right? In this position, you totally need to use cover. So what often happens is that lower level players will play positions where they are furthest away from cover. So what you say also earlier, I had also like low level players. Like I saw this also in my own VOD reviews at Sojourn. So the players stand here in the center and shoot down. And if you then draw a circle around them, you see that every cover is basically an equal position far away from them. So they are in the worst position possible. And you see that a lot. So try to stick to one side. So instead of the circle, you basically stick to this side, or this side, or this side, but you pick one. Just pick one, basically. If you want to train it, I always call it magnetic cover. So you pretend the walls are magnetic and you are always drawn back to the walls. I heard other coaches describe it like poison pools on the ground in other games. Like if you stay too long, you will die, but you can cross for free, but you cannot stay. Crossing is okay. Like if you go from here to here, that's fine, but you cannot stay here. If you stay here, you're dead. That's the important thing. Okay. Can I get back to the game? Yes. So cover usage seems fine. And here I strafe wide out. And this is something that typically happens. Now, this is exactly what I just described now. As a lower level players, they tend to not stay in cover. And now what I do, I now stay here and I strafe out. Now, to fix this, you need to understand for yourself, why did this happen? Like, I for sure know the concept of cover. Like, I know why I need to take cover, right? So why am I here furthest away from any cover? I just said this is stupid. And now I'm doing it myself. Well. Now it gets a little bit more interesting. Because what I'm doing here is, I'm still using the cover in front of me. This one. But I'm not holding it close. Because then if I do one step, I open up. So from here you see up to here. And if you... so if I'm standing here, I can see maybe this line maximum, right? But if I go out to this green line, I suddenly open this entire area. So one small step, the smallest step I can do basically with my keyboard, the smallest increment, opens up this entire angle. So everything. So if the enemy team is currently walking through and I do this step, the entire enemy team opens up to my view and I lose the entire cover with one step, right? But what happens if I take more distance is what happens is, now I'm using the same corner, but now I'm here and I do the small increment step. So what happens is that my initial sightline was basically up to here, and now I did the small step and it opened up to here. So the only area that opened up is this one, right? It's a much finer control of how much area you open up with the smallest step you can do. And as if you jiggle peek, peek shoot, jiggle peek, whatever, use this cover, you can control much finer, much more acute which angle you actually open up and close with. Now there is another thing to consider with the distance to your angle you are playing with. We take a hypothetical example, so it doesn't matter now which characters are on the field, ignore them, we draw everything on the line. So imagine we take this, sorry, how does this work? Yeah, so imagine we take this pillar as cover, right? We take this as fixed cover. Here we have a wall, okay? So now you have one enemy that, or one player that plays at Mercy's position. And he has this sideline, right? And he wants to shoot a player that stands at this position, at this sideline. At the same sideline right now. So the blue player gets shot, what does he do? He strafes into this position, to this distance. At the same time, the Mercy strafes into this position, the same length, right? So this blue line and this red line shall be the same length. Now the thing is that the blue line has closed from this red line to basically this angle, while the red line has opened much more. You see this, how the red line opens the angle much further than the blue line closed it. So in short, the red player can now decide to eliminate the blue player because the red player can strafe around the corner faster than the blue player can hide. So basically the blue player would need to not to go in this direction, but need to go closer direction of cover to close the cover faster. So if you are closer to cover, you can switch around faster. It has an advantage that you can hunt enemies better, but it has a disadvantage, you open up more if you just regularly shoot. And so the distance to cover, you always need to take this into consideration. And now what we have created is a situation where the definition of cover is not always true. Like you cannot say use cover like this and this is always correct. Like you cannot maximize your survival. That's the thing. Like sometimes it's better to hold cover close. Like if you are this mercy and you want to eliminate this ash, you go shoot once, shoot twice, then you can get her. But for that you need to strafe out into the open cover. But if you want to jiggle peek, you stay further away, and then you can say, okay, I have now an angle on this ash and shoot only the ash. So whatever male, Junkrat, Kree are hidden in this corner, they will not find us, right? But if I'm here and I strafe out, then suddenly I see this wall, which I do not need to see. I need to see only the ash. So you see from here, I open up completely. Further back, I can open up much more cute, basically, much more precise. That's the thing about cover. Now, the second thing about cover, why I said, so this was the part why not using cover is basically killing you in your games because you just die without any counterplay. So it's up to the enemies to decide whenever you die and whenever you live. But you don't want to give the control away to the enemies. You want to keep the control to yourself. You want to say, okay, now is not the time to risk dying. Now is the time to play safe. Or you want to say, okay, now I need to go out and fully carry. And you want to have the decision for yourself, and you can do this with cover. Now, why is cover not winning your games? This is another question. Now, for this to understand, let's watch this fight first. How it plays out. Let's see who wins this fight, right? So, the enemy team has now just won the team fight. They are in our backline, they killed someone. Let's pretend this ends the team fight. I don't know how it goes out, but clearly they have done the first kill. Why? How did this happen? Well, clearly, the Junkrat just flanked and killed our render for free. Now, the thing is, why was Junkrat not punished? The thing with this teamfight is that the blue players create no pressure whatsoever. So the red players can do whatever they want. So the red players have infinite time to stand here and set up the game. So even though Orisa is not even in line of sight of the enemy Kiriko, and Mercy is just flying into where she can maybe support, we are not generating any pressure whatsoever on this Orisa. And that's the thing. We are now here, this Ash is here totally safe. This Junkrat is still mostly safe. This Anna is totally safe. But the enemies do not need to care, they are not dying. And that is the thing. You are on a timer to kill the enemies before they kill you. And playing totally safe will not win your game. Cover in itself does not win you your game. You still need to go out and kill something. And you need to not forget that you cannot compromise always. You cannot always compromise on your ability to kill enemies just for more safety. Like if you want to maximize cover and safety, well, here is the spawn, stay inside, you will not die, I promise you. You will never throw your game, you will never die. But the pressure you generate is also zero. And that is the problem with that. You need a compromise between safety and risk. With this being said, as we can see, no team does any damage. Both teams are fully safe, no one does any damage. And we also do not any damage. We also do not close flank positions, and we do not pressure anything, we don't shoot anything, we don't force anything, we do not trade abilities, we just let the red team come closer with no cost. And this is good for the defenders, good for the attackers and bad for the defenders. And so the red team is not missing DPS now. No one is doing any damage. They can just kill behind this cover, Orisa can swirl a little bit, like, it's easy to heal her up against this. And that's the point. Like, if we have downtime, like doing no pressure, we should at least get into positions where we could do more or deny the enemies from getting to these positions. And now, because basically, what has happened here, since we have closed up this cover so tightly. You see this? I decided to shoot at the horse, and now I disregarded this flank position and shot this instead. Now here I got an angle on Kiriko. This is at least something, so Kiriko needs to go further back. And this increases the pressure on the Orisa, because Orisa gets less heal, but also not so much because she just needs to go a little bit back and can still fully heal the horse. So it's really not that much. And that is the thing. Now imagine, instead of here, I would have been up here all fight. Like let's imagine I would be here and shooting. Bam, bam, bam. Bam, 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 dynamite, whatever, bam, bam. Like, would the enemies just chill around here? Like you see how carefree the Social is just standing here and shooting? You see how carefree Mercy is just standing here and healing? You see how Junkers can stay here with 5 HP and do nothing? You see that? Which of the enemies will delete me from here? No one. I can crush them all. I can destroy them all. I can be in the face and hard carry this game. And there would be no Junker that flies around and kills my Anna, no. But the thing is, you open yourself up to get sniped by a Widow from here. You get sniped by a random social railgun, you know, farm the tank, slide up, E and railgun into my body, I'm dead, without counterplay, possible, like, you know. So it's a trade. So being up here is most likely worse cover, worse position, also less safe position, I have to say not worse, but less safe position than being here. But being here, I'm AFK. If I'm here, I could have been just here. The team fight would play exactly the same. I'm totally useless. And that is the point. I'm totally useless right now. Okay? And that is why cover is not winning your games. Cover in itself is not a function of the game. Things that generate pressure is a function of the game. Like high ground is not a function of the game. Like you're on high ground here. What's your function? There is no function in high ground. Generating pressure is a function, and this high ground gives you this pressure because you can decide. Oh, I go back to here, and then now I can see the Junkrat's head, but the enemies cannot see me. I can shoot only the Junkrat and have cover against everything else. I can go to the right side and close the angle to this Kiriko and well again Junkrat. And you will, and then you can punch enemies to walk through this gate. So they go through this gate, but they're not going through it for free. Alright? If you remember at the beginning, we draw the concave. Let's draw it again. The concave. Concave! So we start from here. Here we have cover, here we have cover, here we have cover, here we have... So here, like this is our concave, so we can shoot from here. No one does it ever, but you can. You can shoot from here. You can shoot from down here. You can shoot from this car. You can shoot from a cafe. You can shoot from here inside here. Right? Here's your concave. And now the thing is, my team is not concave. My team is this sideline only. Basically, what we have done is, we are basically playing one cover too far behind. So this is like, yeah, well, we're still using cover, but we're using far behind. So it's, I don't like splitting this in different cover positions, but in theory you can. Like you can say, okay, like in theory, I told you at the beginning, we should fight for this choke. And again, not hard hold, not stay there and die like true men, but make the enemies pay something to go through it. Like use cooldowns, use health, use anything to go through it. Like every resource you draw is good for you. Slows them down. You are the timer is for you. Slows them down. But we let them go through this for here because we pretended that instead we are fighting basically for this open space instead. It's a little bit awkward to draw, but basically we give the enemies this entire space for free, and also this space. And with this space, comes this space for free. And this is what happens. So the enemies could go through here for free without paying anything. Like if Junkrat goes here, we shoot him once, he is low, he's spotted, he maybe needs to use a cooldown, needs to use a health pack, he has less resources left to dive the Anna, for example. But if this entire blue space is free, well, then we need to fall back to the next cover, basically. So then we cannot play up front. Sorry, I will remove the drawing right away. But then what happens is we basically put ourselves further back. So now, since let's draw it like this. So the red space is now basically contested by the enemies. Well, the red one not fully, but let's draw it half contested by the enemies. So the entire red space now belongs to the enemies, and also this high ground basically in theory, no one meant that, but in theory it is contested by the enemies. All the space belongs to enemies now. If so, you can see that My Little Pony went in there, and what happens? He gets forced out instantly. You see his HP, he nearly died. He got forced out instantly, right? There was no way that he could stay up there. We gave up the cloak for free. Well, I was shooting inside, but Zen wasn't, Junkrat wasn't, Anna was maybe, I do not know, but Anna needs special cases where she can generate pressure with anti-nasal sleep dots. It's like she doesn't generate so much pressure with left click, but still a little bit. Still do it. Like, don't get me wrong. Anna should still shoot the enemies in this situation. Well, not now because Ash actually took damage, but still generate a little bit of pressure. But we gave the enemies all the space for free, so now they live there rent-free, and we cannot make them pay. So instead, we now need to fight to the next furthest space back. The next furthest space back is, now we draw in yellow, the contested space is this yellow space, which we now need to keep an eye out, because this is where Junk was flanked, like this is Cafe. Basically this high ground is something that can be contested now. This entire corridor, which leads to the Mega Health Pack, maybe this high ground, I do not know actually, but this area for sure is now basically contested space. So something like this is now contested space. And only the green space back here is space where we can stand. So behind this car is a small spot. Well, up here of course, but you see that, well, in theory here as well, but again, you kind of need to take a look inside. So we basically playing as if this is our space, but it wasn't from the beginning. We played like it was, and we did not contest the correct space. Basically, this is the short thing. We took cover and everything, but we didn't contest the correct space. We played too far back. Now the thing is, of course, you can say, well, you have Ash and Anna, shouldn't you play far back? And the answer is no. You kinda need to always make a compromise between what's good for your character, what's bad for the enemies, what's good for the map, what's good for the team composition, what's bad for the enemy team composition. So it's always a compromise. And here the compromise was too soft. We didn't have enough pressure, basically. And that is the thing about cover. So on one hand, you need to use cover when you do the correct things. But you need to do the correct things first. Cover is not the correct thing. It's not a function. You need to do the correct function first, but do it with good cover and not bad cover. Okay? That's basically the entire message I want to say. I shortly want to go over another position, another fight, where we died to an enemy soldier ult. Where was it actually? I think it was actually in our defense. Was it here? Let me shortly check if I find it. Yeah, I think it was somewhere around here. Yeah, exactly this team fight. So basically, in short, what happened? This team fight went down like this. Let's find the start of the team fight. It was a prolonged team fight. So it's 1 minute 15 on the clock. So we are basically on our last attack. If we are fast, maybe a second one. With only a Bob, the enemies have no ults. So we should kind of win the first corner. And it's mostly what we need. Okay, so this is a totally winnable team fight. So as you can see, we are still regrouping, waiting for the tank to go in. We have a Tracer set up on a flank position. We have a My Little Pony flanking. Now we have a Tracer going down on our Zenyatta, right next to our Anna, which should be actually winnable for us. And we have a Bob going down to the front, pressuring the enemy front line. Let's see this from my perspective. He will try to help the Zen, which is sadly impossible for us. Tracer gets the kill. Nothing we can do. But Bob has pushed the enemies back. But now we are down 1. So now, what do I need to do? Do I need now to sit back and relax and play for time? Or do I need to go and kill something? That is a big question. So now, if you draw around the spaces, yeah. Honestly, where's a good angle to draw here? Cannot really fully zoom out, but well, maybe, yeah, well, I cannot fully draw the tracer. But now, let's look at this angle. I actually turned down the music, I don't know why I opened it. So, we have Team Red, which undoubtedly controls this area, right? We cannot be in this area. Undoubtedly, Team Red also controls this high ground behind this area. No, it's OW2, but there's a high ground behind it. You cannot see it right now. And which also means that they somewhat have some control over this door, at least, of this area, right? Then we have some undefined area in between. Basically, the payload, this area in between is kind of dangerous for both teams and up to here. Which also means basically the red team also controls this area back here, more or less. Like, we cannot go there for free, we would need to pay and risk, because Mara can face, Soldier can shoot, so also somewhat. It's not clear, but it's also not so relevant, right? And then basically the blue team, of course, controls this area back here. Clearly. Together with Kree back there, but then again we have some uncontrolled stuff with Tracer going on in our back again. Some uncontrolled stuff, okay. So this is like here. Now the thing is, I need to push the enemies out of the zone which we need to cap. But on the same time, we are currently pushing. So it's also, as long as we are pushing, it just need to prevent the enemies from contesting the payload. So right now, I kind of need to draw resources from the enemies. And I'm only allowed to walk up to the tank. So I can stand myself in front of the tank, which would be kind of stupid. I can stand behind the payload, I can stand on this corner. So basically, this is roughly the arc which I can use. In theory, I could also use this arc, but again, it's dangerous because I'm frontlining and the Junker Queen can pull me inside, so this would be again a risky SL. Back here is the same angle, but more safe, right? So this is the only cover I'm allowed to take. The thing is that here I am not allowed to be back here. And why? Because I do not draw any resources from the enemies. I cannot be back here. There's a traitor as well, but also I'm doing nothing at this point. So the enemies can group and stage up a kill on ourselves, which would destroy us in this case. We have now lost our only ult, the Transcendence, basically, and now we are 4 on 5. So playing safe will not win us a fight. We will lose a 4 versus 5 for sure. Like back when it was 5 versus 6, it was 85% chance to win if you have 6 players and the enemies has only 5. And now in a 4 on 5, it's higher than 85, it's maybe 93 or something % chance to win with a team with a higher amount of players. So, that being said, which cover do I need to use? I need to go all out here, but I really wish my tank would overextend a little bit because there are not too many players. And now this thing is actually perfect for us. So here we have now the tank in ourselves inside, so we can totally punish the tank and draw the resources, basically. But at the same time, I kind of took a little bit too many resources, and that is the fine line between, well, frontline over the tank. So I shouldn't have frontlined here. I could have stayed back here and shot the Junker Queen. And this is the cover I should have taken. This position instead of this position, right? This 1 meter from the ground this is the 1 meter that should have decided. So I should have been back here, basically. So my Ramatra would take the damage instead of me in this case. Now the other thing, of course, what you can say is I should have gone to high ground. That's another thing. I should have coach gone to high ground. This would have been space that I can contest. And now, at this spot, I have been told that my cover was bad because I died to the soldier ult. And honestly, seriously? Like, do I even need to explain this? Why the sentence doesn't make any sense whatsoever? Like, even if you would disregard the entire match history build up, how we got here. The thing is that even if I do not die to the soldier ult, someone will. We are down already enough players. I cannot afford to lose more teammates. There's only one chance. Shoot the soldier. Soldier, for his ult, goes completely out into space that's contested by us. And this was a failed execution with my dynamite. I needed to shoot the soldier, not throw a dynamite. basically. A headshot on soldier would have done more damage, and this is a misplay, not the cover, but the misplay, because this team fight was already lost. You cannot go into a losing team fight, last team fight, and then play it safe. This is not going to work, basically. And that's what I meant at the beginning, is that cover does not carry your games. You need to carry your games. Cover will not do it for you. Like, if you do something, try to do this cover as good as you can, but you still need to do something. And you can argue that, okay, you could have taken better cover, and that is right. I could have taken cover up here. The thing is, only if I actually get to kill something, or rather build more pressure on the enemies, which I could have done because I could have shown the mercy and denied their position instead of the tank, which would have been better, most likely. Okay? So being up here would have been correct, but not because I died here, but because I didn't do enough pressure in trading with my life. Like, I traded my position, my life, for doing pressure, and the trade up didn't work. That's the problem, not the cover usage. That's basically the thing about cover I want to say. So with that being said, I thank you everyone for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye!